questions. I think it's more like red and blue, but whatever. So if each of the candidates can take a red piece of paper and the other coloured piece of paper, that would be fantastic. Then we are going to read out a statement, and you can either agree or disagree with that statement. So agreeing is that one colour of paper which you can't quite identify, that one. No, you don't have to write. So if you agree with the statement, you put up this weird coloured paper. If you disagree, you put up the red coloured paper. So we have got 7 questions for you, and then we have 1 question for you all individually. And then we will move on to audience questions if there are any.
So this is supposed to be quick fire, so no thinking. Just
reaction.
Just pure reaction is what we're going for. Dusk is better than fubar.
Normal fries are better than curly fries. What? Normal fries are better than curly fries.
Question 3. Twitter is better than Instagram. Is it you from the audience there?
Number 4. I am definitely better than my opponents.
Question 5. Controversial speakers should be allowed on campus.
Question 6. We should build a multi-story car park.
Sure, who's it? Question 7, and this is in the third party sense, this is not me saying this. I'm a big name on campus. Nice mix of humility there.
Okay, so we're going to move on to individual questions. Nelson, you are first.
This seems like a chat show. Nelson, your manifesto promises that any price rises in bus tickets will be halted. So what's going to happen when they go up?
Okay, we are talking about the... We are talking about the prices for the service, and in the manifesto I stated that with right negotiations we shouldn't see the prices going up. So for me, within my time of taking office, I don't expect the prices to go up. And frankly, because I don't expect the prices to go up, and I know it will not go up because of the way I'm going to deal with it, I don't think your question is in place in terms of what is going to be done with the pricing of the buses. Thank you.
Okay, so our next question is for Georgia. Stirling is renowned for its beautiful campus environment and cute little animals. Why have you neglected a major part of the presidential remit from your manifesto by failing to address environmental policy? None of these questions are kind. None of these questions are kind.
So experience, which is obviously what every single student comes to Stirling for, is for their own experience, and I feel like student support is a massive barrier that can stop people graduating, which is ultimately what I want to stop doing. So I want students to make sure that they feel supported so they can actually continue coming to uni. I'm not saying that environment isn't a big issue, but I feel like student support is just a bigger one that need to prioritise more than, because like it's not like I'm saying build a multi-storey car park on campus which would ruin it. I'm not proposing to do anything that would be detrimental to the environment, but I'm just kind of focusing more on like student support.
For the kind audience, we're not nice hosts, so they should be getting out. Ryan, question for you, my friend. So, microwaves, saviour of the student. Your manifesto mentions a pledge to get a microwave for student use, but your manifesto also mentions new commercial ventures for the union to improve its income. So wouldn't the microwave undermine this?
Yeah, I had a feeling you might mention that actually. It's something I want to discuss in more detail with the Union Chief Executive. I've already spoken to her about it in some detail. But there's two prongs to that answer. The first is that products can be provided to complement the service in the eventuality that some people arrive who can't get access to that food and other products, or who don't bring it in, I should say. And the second is it's about supporting students who may not be able to afford that food on a daily basis due to their personal circumstances for whatever reason. So in essence, it's about trying to create a balanced approach that helps maintain the revenues the union needs to support the student services, but also to allow students who need to use that service to help them make sure that they have a nourished lifestyle, that they have the everyday items that they need to get on and contribute to the educational system as best they can.
Okay, Charlie, you committed to bringing back the shuttle bus to improve accessibility. A noble pledge. It might be electric, it might not. Would you still press ahead, ignoring the environmental impact? Is this not? I'm sorry, just need to make sure. Sorry, just need to make sure.
I think ideally having an electric shuttle would be the best option, but students with mobility, with some disabilities need to take priority so they can maneuver campus as well as they can get to classes on time, and those things shouldn't inhibit them from learning. So I think the shuttle bus, I would push to bring it forward no matter what, because it benefits students as a whole.
Okay, now we will move on to any audience questions. So if you have a question, can you please go over there? Any questions? No audience questions. Go over there. Stop. Come on, man. It is. Excuse me, D, you can go here. Okay, so I think Annabelle has an audience question.
So first bus is a pretty common area on a lot of different manifestos, but the way that first bus is run, it seems that they're pretty bad at taking responsibility for how bad these buses are. For example, whenever we say that the app is really bad and that's how a lot of students get tickets,
So First Bus in Stirling functions a bit differently than it does in other cities. So as Georgia said, we would look at how First Bus has control in Stirling and what they are responsible for here. A thing that I had thought about was kind of built off of the survey that was done earlier this year about First Bus services, and there was an impact with that. So to have a constant complaint box on the union website specifically about First Bus, so we could provide real data all the time, constantly updates about services and the troubles that students are facing, how often they're facing it. Like, we need to fix this. This is what's available here, and this is what's not working for us. And these are what all of the students have to say about this at this time.
Okay. The issue with First Bus, for me, I divide the issues into two. As the question went, one aspect is looking at the national issue, but in addition to the national issue, there are certain issues that are specific to Stirling only, and that with the union and First Bus, there has to be a lot of negotiations to fix such a problem, such as delays and, for me, the cost involved in getting the tickets. With that, we will be looking at the numbers that we have as students and looking at the kind of revenue we generate for First Bus and use that at least, if not a leverage, as a bait to get First Bus to improve on the things that they do or to improve on the services that they render to us. Now, on the national scale, if we have problems that is affecting cities in which First Bus operates, then it would be better to liaise with other unions within these cities and get to know how the problems is actually impacting on their students. And with that, we can share ideas on how to actually deal with First Bus in terms of negotiating for best services. Thank you.
There's two things I would say. First of all, we collectively, as far as First Bus are concerned, are the customers. But that also means that we are collectively a catalyst for change. So having the feedback from students has been very important in the negotiations that Jamie and Ashton have been having with First Bus over the last year to try and improve the service. The second thing I would say is that, of course, I would be communicating with other students' union presidents in terms of transport infrastructure and bus services, because some of the problems that First Bus have run across different cities. But on the local level, what I would say is that having Stirling Council present in negotiations as the contractor for the service has been key to helping improve its overall running. And I think it's absolutely vital that we keep them at the table if we're to get better services for our students.
Okay, are there any other audience questions you wanted to shout out?
First of all, I think it's just absolutely fantastic that we have a postgraduate candidate running for a sabbatical position, because I was the postgraduate officer a couple of years ago and I don't even remember that happening. So a massive congratulations just to begin with right there. But on that note, seeing as we don't have someone running for the postgraduate officer position, how do the candidates before us aim to, what's the word I'm looking for here, help postgraduate issues and engagement?
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate that postgraduate students, especially those who've not had previous experience at Stirling, have not been able to integrate into our student community. I'm not 100% sure right now what the best way is to address that. The only thing I can think of is to reach out to more postgraduate students, hold a survey, negotiate on improving the status of the postgraduate research zone, which will become more prescient as Campus Central gets underway. And also it's about communication with, well, I would have said postgraduate officer. It's also unfortunate, by the way, we don't have a postgraduate officer in this election. I think that's really unfortunate. But I'm absolutely prepared to step into the ring to help students, postgraduate students like myself, whether you've been here for 4 years or whether you're new to the game. I believe that you do have something valuable to contribute to the community, and I want to help them make sure that they can do that.
what I'm going to do. But the whole issue is that postgraduate students, more than 90% of them just spend 1 year in Stirling. And majority of them have not been in Stirling before. So they just pass through a year and they are off. So how do we get them involved? We should know where these people are coming from, the kind of culture that they are bringing on board. And it is with the postgraduate students that you find a lot of international students. What kind of activities is the union organizing? How well are these postgraduates relating to the activities that are being organized? Because I believe that it is when they are able to relate to the activities, that is when they will want to take part in those activities. So the union has to take a second look of the activities that they organize and know which of the activities that will actually catch the attention of postgraduate students. And it is at that point that you see a lot of postgraduate students getting involved in union activities, and we will get to know what their feelings and what their problems are, and with that the union will be in a better position to offer some help.
I think that communication with postgraduate students is incredibly important because we are all Stirling. They are Stirling students, they are part of this union, they are part of this community. It would be laying the foundation for future postgraduate students by collecting data through surveys, talking to different cohorts, talking to the lecturers, the people, the faculty officers for postgraduate students, and getting in contact with them about different postgraduate events and what they relate to and what they seek out of Stirling. It's more than just a classroom experience. There are so many things that campus has to offer, and if there is no postgraduate officer available, it's just a matter of getting to them directly, whether that be contacting them by email, talking to their lecturers, talking to the head of their researchers, and setting up more events for them. And like I said, building a foundation by gathering information from the current postgraduates here in order to make future postgrads feel more welcome at campus.
So there's two things that I do. So first of all will be engagement at postgraduate open days. So making sure that I'm kind of out there interacting with potential postgraduate students, but also like making sure that they know what the union can do for them and kind of what I can do in my role, and to kind of get that engagement like from the very beginning before the meeting started, so that if you do choose to come here, it's very much like, oh well, I remember speaking to her on the open day and maybe the union can go and help me with that, instead of them kind of trying to find out their way like once they've started. And second of all, like all the others have said, communication, but I think I'd probably do it slightly differently, so maybe having something kind of similar to the equality zone, so it's like students can come and we just have a meeting like every so often to kind of see how postgrads going and kind of what problems they encounter, but like what I can do, or even holding like focus groups or like drop-ins where I have like an hour set aside every couple of weeks where postgrads can come and speak to me about anything, and kind of just ensuring that they know that their options are always there for them.
Okay, we have time for one more audience question. Yeah, I think I see one at the back there. Laura, would you like to shout?
Yeah. Okay, so what would you want to see done given the 2 recent student deaths, including community services, as an announcement on the portal about Samaritans as an announcement?
The question is about student deaths on campus and what we plan to do to prevent one.
The question is
About student deaths on campus and how to prevent one.
So I think first of all accommodation staff need to be fully trained in like mental health first aid training, but also just kind of encouraging them to be a little bit more compassionate. Like I know that's been an issue where students have been told to kind of just stop doing it when it's not always the case. So I think that's making sure that that training's available for them, like something like mental health first aid training, which kind of deals with how to help people in a crisis, but also identifying signs of a crisis. But also holding like accommodation services available, so like I've had friends in the past who stayed there who, when they've been really struggling, accommodation sales isn't meant to check on them like every night, and it's just not happened. So making sure, like, from students and kind of keeping in touch with the students who are struggling to make sure that accommodation are doing what they're meant to be doing to help them. So I think it's taken a very proactive approach in kind of preventing issues getting that far, rather than kind of taking action after it's happened, like just sharing a helpline. It's very much making sure that that information's there for accommodation staff.
So, number 1, dusk is better than food bar.
Any hesitation there? Normal fries are better than curly fries.
Number 3, Twitter is better than Instagram.
Too much agreement here for my liking. Number 4, I'm definitely better than my opponent. No hesitation.
Number 5, controversial speakers should be allowed on campus.
Number 6, we should build a multi-story car park.
And number 7, I'm a big name on campus.
Very humble, very, very humble.
So, straight into the individual questions.
Daniel. Education done right. What a slogan. You've not worked on car parking this year, to the disappointment of many. So why the focus come election time? Is this education done wrong?
First of all, with a second name like mine, you can't expect me to do something cheesy like that right there. So, yeah, so I decided that I wanted to put car parking in my manifesto for a second yet because I understand the lay of the land more now. I have had those conversations across the whole of the year, so while car parking wasn't in my manifesto for my first year, that's not to say that I haven't worked on it. I've had those conversations with the head of facilities, things like that. I've looked at the perm pricing and all those other things. Yeah, but now I feel a lot more confident about knowing that situation around car parking, knowing the price of permits, knowing the number of spaces compared to the number of permits that are allocated. And also, I'm more aware of some of the solutions from universities across the country and what they have done in order to tackle car parking. And it's not just build another car park around the side of campus or something like that. It's those more creative solutions like looking at park and rides and looking at systems that show people where the spaces actually are, because a lot of the times I get emails about car parking, but a lot of the times it's not just I can't find a space, it's I can't find a space for a while, but then by the time I have found it, I'm late for my lecture, and I want to make sure that people aren't late for the lectures because, well, yeah, as VPN, I think you should probably be going to them. But yeah, thanks.
Amy, you mentioned in your manifesto you wanted to introduce water fountains. Others have tried, but quickly found out this was unobtainable due to infrastructure. How will you solve this? Unobtainable due to infrastructure. How will you solve this?
Hello. Yeah. So I think this is definitely something that we can address, especially in the new development on campus. I think it's really important that we have far more water fountains on campus because it increases the amount of single-use plastic that we all use if we're buying them every single day. So I think it's a really important issue for sustainability and also just for improving our study space as a whole.
Very good. See people are playing along here, some bingo, that's always nice to see. Oh, you've sent us a link, haven't you? Okay, so audience questions. Anyone want to ask a question? Come up, step up, roll up. AJ, come to the side. Oh, no, just shout out. Okay, on you go.
Alright, so guys, you've all said that you would be up for controversial speakers coming into our university. My question is, what procedures and policy would you put in place to ensure that trigger warning safe spaces and all necessary security details have been met with said controversial speaker?
Okay, so I don't think I need to sum up that question. Is everyone okay? Yeah. Great. On you go.
So yeah, I think that having controversial speakers onto campus it's an important part. I mean, it's an important part of growing as someone coming to university. We all come to university and we're not fully formed in our ideas and everything like that. And I think that learning different viewpoints and everything like that, but in a safe way, is an important part of being a university student. So I think that the way to make sure that controversial speakers coming to campus is done in the most effective and the best manner is to make sure that people are informed well in advance of who this person is, so then if they have any concerns, that they can express that a long time in advance, so that measures can be put into place if they haven't already been thought of. I think it's also about making sure that if a controversial speaker is coming, then beforehand there are all the checks to make sure that this speaker abides with laws and things like that related to the campus and everything. So, yeah, pretty much that.
So you might have noticed at the beginning I did hesitate on that question a little bit, and I think it's important to establish what we're counting as controversial, and also to make sure we prepare well in advance, it gives students opportunities, and make sure it's an important, make sure that students have an opportunity to oppose that and to debate it openly, and that it's not just a one-way conversation. So yeah, I think that's really important.
Any other questions? Anyone over there? If you want to stand up and shout out.
Currently, some students aren't able to actually get an education on Stirling Uni campus because the hearing loops and lecture theatres are switched off and the guides for the visually impaired students don't show up half the time. How would you improve accessibility for the students who can't learn here?
And thank you, I think that's a really important question. And as an Aurora student myself, I have one experience of having additional needs at this university, but I also acknowledge that that's not everyone's experience. And I think it's really important, it was raised to me the other day about listen again, and how actually there is no plain text underneath it, so unless you can hear the entire thing, which even I find difficult. A lot of the time lecturers will move close and far away from the microphone, and it's really difficult. So I definitely think all these problems need to be addressed, and that it needs to be done across the university so that students can access their education. I mean, accessibility is one of my main points on my manifesto, and yeah, I think it's definitely very important and what I would like to represent. Thank you.
So yeah, I definitely agree with what Amy said, that accessibility is incredibly important, and that, I mean, everyone's come to university and quite a lot of us have paid money to come to university. We should be accessing every single part of our education, if you choose to. But I think that a main part about things like hearing loops and everything like that, it's making sure that, well, first of all, they are turned on and things like that. That's about working with the estates team to make sure that all of the lecture theatres, seminar rooms, etc. are all accessible for whatever needs that a student might have. In terms of ARUAs, I think it's important that lecturers actually understand what ARUAs are and what adjustments students need because of an ARUA. It's on my manifesto because I think it's important. A lot of the time, lecturers, they are aware of a student having an ARUA, but they're not aware of exactly what the ARUA means or anything like that. So I think it's about lecturers meeting more with accessibility and inclusion, getting that information of exactly what adjustments are needed for any particular student on a modules, and module coordinators getting that information in advance, well in time, so that they can put those adjustments into place, because at the end of the day, if those adjustments aren't in place, the education isn't accessible for that student, and that's on the university.
Okay, that's fine. Question down here. Josh?
Yeah, I was just
Speak loud.
I was just wondering. I was just wondering about so the students are doing media degrees or journalism or something like that. A lot of the time, the tools that they need to produce projects are in the Parkwood Lecture Theatre, which is closed to students on weekends. Do you guys have any plans to do a policy that might make accessing those devices that they need easier?
People might get locked out.
Or locked in.
Yeah, so I've got quite a few friends who have done media degrees or doing media degrees, and I know they've probably spent far too long in those, in like the production studios and things like that, and they produce some really amazing things from it. And I think that, I mean, making sure that, again, it comes back to that accessibility aspect of making sure that students can actually get to what they need in order to actually do their work. It would be like, okay, you have to write an essay, and in order to write the essay, you need to access this book. It's in the library, but we're going to close it to you, so you can't have it. It doesn't really make much sense, but I think that's about talking again to the estates team, talking to the security teams, and making sure that the pathway is open and that people can get into these really important areas when they actually want to do their work. I mean, we've all come to university to have that education and to do that work, so why not open up the buildings to allow it?
Yeah, so I agree with what you said here, and I think it's definitely about having those conversations, connecting with your module reps, your faculty officers, and so on up to us. And I also think one idea that I think could benefit all of our policies and even for other candidates is introducing a tab on the portal to feedback to your staff. I think a lot of people either can't be bothered or it's quite difficult or physically they actually cannot come all the way down the path to go to the union to tell someone that the door's locked. So I think it's really important to have that contact. So yeah, I think that's something I'd like to introduce.
So we've got time for one more question and then one minute answers.
Yeah, we're timing you.
Hi, this is for Daniel. So last year, one of your central manifesto points was to, and I quote, increase awareness and support for mental health. This year, your manifesto fails to mention anything to do with mental health. What has changed?
We're timing you, Daniel.
Yeah, it's a valid point, and mental health is in my manifesto. It's just under the term personal tutors, and it's in other areas, and it's certainly not, just because it's not my manifesto, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't work on it. It's incredibly important. Just been to that mental health panel and learned a lot of things from that. And I think that more needs to be done still. It's about working collaboratively as a team of SAMs and with the university, and all of us doing everything that we can, and that getting involved in each other's projects, and so that awareness and those things get out there.
Just to be fair, does anyone have a question for Amy? It will be nice.
One of your main policies is to have SAS over the summer. That doesn't relate to all students, only Scottish ones, and what do you think you can actually do about that, considering it's like,
Well, this is something I've been asked about a lot at Hustings and a lot of different societies, but I feel like maybe I didn't make clear in my manifesto that actually it's about having student finance in the summer, not specifically just staff. Maybe I should be more clear about that. And I think I've been assured by the staff at the Student Union that it's definitely possible, definitely within the scope of the role, to join this national campaign and take part. I mean, we've seen that with the graduation fees, have been successful. As a collective student body, we have a loud voice and we collectively can make positive change. So I think this is one area. Working with students at other universities, working with people in the local council and MSPs, who really value Stirling University as part of their constituency, I think that we are stakeholders and that we can make change.
Okay, first up are red and green questions. Green is agreed, red is disagreed. Fairly simple. Shut up. Question 1. Dusk is better than Fubar.
Question 2. Normal fries are better than curly fries. Normal fries are better than curly fries.
Question 3. Twitter is better than Instagram.
Question 4. I'm definitely better than my opponent.
Confidence, I like it. Question 5. Controversial speakers should be allowed on campus.
Question 6. We should build a multi-story car park.
Too much consensus here. 7. I'm a big name on campus.
Okay, so we're going to jump straight into the individual questions. Joshua, you're first. A huge part of the community zone remit is volunteering, but doesn't feature on your manifesto. Why do you think this is not important enough to include? Can we get the shots on?
I think you need to start volunteering more candidates at this point. We've been in since 1990, so communities officer and clubs and subs officer be co-curricular officer. So I think the problem is for volunteering is it's so weirdly diverse because it comes into education, comes into sports, comes into everything. And because I've not been an expert in it, I don't think it's fair for me just to start going and saying, oh, we should do this for more volunteering. If anything, I'd actually like to build on what Svea Horn's been saying in her manifesto, an idea of creating a volunteering group again, and that's more part of the union rather than having a, well, hopefully keep the volunteer society, but being it more incorporated into union. So I'd like to build on that.
Fraser, you say that a strong union is a united one. That union means union. There's a drinking game going on here. The bar is going. On Tuesday's Hustings, in reference to the controversial Israeli diplomat event, you spoke to a strength and diversity of opinion. So, unity or diversity, which is it?
I think it's important to have our views challenged and also challenge speakers who come here and hold them accountable to for their views, for the actions of what they represent. And I think it's important to encourage discussion between in the union and in the university among students. So I think by having the opportunity to have controversial speakers to come and speak, different groups can discuss and debate the issues, I think it does encourage more debate and more communication between people. So I think they're interlinked, and so a united union can disagree, and you can passionately disagree. So I think discussion amongst controversial topics is key to united and to a united union.
Okay, so we're moving straight on to audience question. Oh,
lots of questions.
Reached out to different Palestinian embassies, different groups, and unfortunately we've been unable to locate a speaker. We're now in the process of contacting MPs who are sympathetic towards Palestine, so we've not denied any speakers. We've tried actually to get speakers. So far it's been unsuccessful. We are hopeful we'll get an MP to come and speak who is sympathetic towards Palestine.
Any questions for Josh specifically, just to be fair?
Oh! You talk a lot about experience in your manifesto, which makes you come across as arrogant. Is this just for your campaign, or will this be going right through the role?
Let's keep it to the policies and not the people.
That's you, tell.
So, Josh, we feel like you have to answer that one.
Well, as an arrogant prick. Unfortunately, I've got a personality that comes across as arrogant. I don't come not, but I think it's a very important part of being involved in, especially the upper part of the union with the sabbatical officers, is experience. And unfortunately, it comes across as arrogant. I do apologise for that. However, it is a very important part because I used to negotiate with outward parts of the university and other groups, and without being mean to failure, I do feel like out of both of us, I do have the most experience when it comes to the policy area. So I do feel like because of that, I wouldn't say it's an arrogant point, I just think it's a point to be made.
That's candidate assessment on the score sheet, then on the score sheet, candidate.
Made a fair deal on rent and improved accommodation standards. Once you've been in the position of housing officer, the cheapest accommodations are set to be demolished. Does that not represent failure in your position?
Firstly, you're blatantly wrong. To be honest, I was out with the sabbatical team and all sabbatical teams in the past. I'm the first student to actually part about negotiations, and that has not been put forward in the negotiations at all. What we have indeed had so far is concessions towards I can't unfortunately speak about it because I will be punched by Jamie. But it's this issue of, I'd love to see what we've done. It's something that's going to be not the best so far. It could be much better, but it's a starting point. So we've managed to get concessions from the university, and it's not going to be demolished housing. It's going to actually be leading to the improvement of housing.
Okay, let's go one all the way at the back there in the yellow t-shirt. I can't see who you are. You're looking behind you. Yes. Yeah, Michael!
Hey! The last question was to Josh. Shall we raise this to Blazer? In your manifesto and your subsequent break interview, you talk about starting next semester to get involved with all the clubs and societies. But I think maybe you give us an exclusive tonight about what this event will actually be.
Alright, so I think I've been speaking to clubs and societies about this, and there's a lot of goodwill to have an event for societies and sports clubs. Maybe something in the autumn semester, I think sports-based. So for example, law, politics and economics did a football fundraiser, which was a really good way to have exercise and kind of get to know each other. It'd be something along this line, in like sports and using the advantage of the sports facilities.
How we do this? We've got 4 sports candidates coming up, so we need to be quite right.
3 sports candidates.
What? Right. So what I'm going to say is we'll take 1, 2, 3, just in quick fire succession, answer quickly. Yeah? So
You've got 30 seconds.
start with Emily and work our way towards Harry.
There's a definite line between students of Stirling and the general population of Stirling. How do you plan to use community outreach to combat it?
Fraser, 30 seconds. Go!
I think one way of doing this is by having a lot of our text on campus in the community. This is a good way to show us doing our part for the community, and hopefully that can be the community response to that as well. And things like just getting public societies involved in the community, such as our
Right, Josh.
30 seconds.
Already with my involvement in Tennessee Union, this is already a thing I'm going to be actually meeting with at the end of May, is to be in discussions with local businesses and local politicians about the current role students have in the local economy and already in the local issues. So we already we're basically a backbone of the main area of their economy, so it's a thing that's a divide, but unfortunately we need to break that divide because students are not getting a fair deal on it.
Obviously accessibility is an issue on campus. As a disabled student, the accessible bathrooms, particularly in the atrium, the doors are actually weighted. So last semester I was on crutches and I couldn't get into the bathroom.
Okay, let's get this show on the road. Red and green up first. Prepare your paper. Look, we're very hungry, okay? We're very hungry. It's not ready. Right, okay. Question 1. Dusk is better than Fuba.
Are better than curly fries.
Question 3. Twitter is better than Instagram.
Question 4. I'm definitely better than my opponents.
It's not one you should answer quickly to. Question 5. Controversial speakers should be allowed on campus.
Question 6. We should build a multi-story car park.
Question 7. I'm a big name on campus. Who's that man? Right, so let's get cracking. We'll start with Jill. We'll start with Jill. Jill, in your manifesto, you commit to fundraising for teams yourself. With 60 plus teams that need monetary support and an already heavy workload, how will you realistically find the time to fundraise each team?
Okay, so it's something that I kind of want to kind of move forward in the sense that when you have one-to-ones with the teams, which I've been committed to having in, we just find out how they're going, is to kind of just make sure that they are getting the kind of fundraising initiative kind of going on as well. So it's just kind of more checking up on them. And then also, if they're not too sure what to do, giving them some ideas, such as, well, okay, let's put together and share fundraising, because we potentially putting that together and putting it forward to the teams. And then also just kind of come up with other ideas and reaching out to the surrounding community to make sure that they know what they can use.
Okay, on to Caitlin. Okay, on to Caitlin. Your manifesto last year and this year makes a commitment to spreading physical activity beyond just sports teams. This year's hashtag Stir Challenge saw poor engagement.
I think to start with, obviously, Challenge Yourself this year was a revamped version of 5K a day, which I think was absolutely vital. 5K a day was something that I personally felt wasn't appealing to maybe everyone. It was either too much or it was too little. So absolutely there needs to be a change. Challenge Yourself
Stir Challenge, looked at more of an individual-centred approach, and it gave everybody the opportunity to be creative, innovative, and get involved how they felt they could. And this was the first time that we put up exactly the same prize for clubs and societies and for sports teams. I think that was a massive step forward, and obviously first year it was something new, it was something that we were trialling, and we didn't see engagement from clubs and societies, but we absolutely seen engagement from sports teams and from individuals. And I think going forward and redoing the initiative, it's about opening that conversation, speaking with clubs and societies directly, asking what kind of activities we can put on, what we can do to support that, whether it's, you know, yoga around the campus instead of at the sports centre, whatever that looks like to that demographic is working with that, I think.
You're talking about dealing with kit suppliers and seeking alternatives if people are unhappy. There's a signed contract in place till 2020, so what's the plan?
That is a very good question, but what I want to do is, obviously, as you say, there is a signed contract till 2020, so it's not going to be a case of getting rid of the kit straight away. If there's a problem with the kit supplier, then what I'd like to do to start with is put that kit supplier on notice and say, look, you need to buck up your ideas, because if you don't, then we will seek an alternative supplier. Because I believe that we're the customers of them. They don't control what we do. We should control our own kit. So I'd like to see that we take more control over the kit, and rather than have whoever it is dictate to us that this is going to happen, I think we need to say, look, if you don't supply the needs and give us a reasonable service, because we all expect a reasonable service wherever we go, then we need to find an alternative supplier.
Okay, so we're on to audience questions. Any questions for them? So AJ's hand shoot up there.
Sports people.
That's a good question.
Right, AJ first, what's happening?
Alright guys, because two of you said you wanted to bridge the gap between societies and sports teams.
Drink!
Alright, I'll wait for you all alcoholics.
You said that on purpose, AJ. I know.
So basically, what's your idea to do it?
A revamped version of 5k a day, which I think was absolutely vital. 5k a day was something that I personally felt wasn't appealing to maybe everyone. It was either too much or it was too little, so absolutely there needed to be a change. Challenge yourself, Stir Challenge, looked at more of an individual-centred approach, and it gave everybody the opportunity to be creative, innovative, and get involved how they felt they could. And this was the first time that we put up exactly the same prize for clubs and societies and for sports teams. I think that was a massive step forward, and obviously first year it was something new, it was something that we were trialling, and we didn't see engagement from clubs and societies, but we absolutely seen engagement from sports teams and from individuals. And I think going forward and redoing the initiative, it's about opening that conversation, speaking with clubs and societies directly, asking what kind of activities we can put on, what we can do to support that, whether it's, you know, yoga around the campus instead of at the sports centre, whatever that looks like to that demographic, is working with that, I think.
You're talking about dealing with kit suppliers and seeking alternatives if people are unhappy. There's a signed contract in place till 2020, so what's the plan?
That is a very good question, but what I want to do is, obviously, as you say, there is a signed contract till 2020, so it's not going to be a case of getting rid of the kit straight away. If there's a problem with the kit supplier, then what I'd like to do to start with is put that kit supplier on notice and say, look, you need to buck up your ideas, because if you don't, then we will seek an alternative supplier. because I believe that we're the customers of them. They don't control what we do. We should control our own kit. So I'd like to see that we take more control over the kit, and rather than have whoever it is dictate to us that this is going to happen, I think we need to say, look, if you don't supply the needs and give us a reasonable service, because we all expect a reasonable service wherever we go, then we need to find an alternative supplier.
Okay, so we're on to audience questions. Any questions for them? So AJ's hand shoot up there.
Sports people.
That's a good question.
Right, AJ first, what's happening?
Alright guys, because two of you said you wanted to bridge the gap between societies and sports teams.
Drink!
Alright, I'll wait for you all alcoholics.
You said not AJ.
I know. So basically, what's your idea to do it?
Okay, so we're going to have 30 seconds to respond because we don't have a lot of time left. So, let's begin with Caitlin.
I think that's something that I've actually made massive steps forward with this year through initiatives such as Blue Green TV, Stir Challenge. I've worked very closely with Jamie on many things such as implementing activities kits across accommodation, and this is just a couple of the things to actually show that sport is much more than sports union, and it does bridge across clubs and societies and wider than that.
30 seconds to answer the question.
Sorry?
You have 30 seconds to answer the question.
Sorry about that. Okay, so basically I did mention it in my manifesto, but it's something I'd be very keen to kind of carry on. Definitely working through with the kind of likes and carrying on the good work with the media societies. Also, I just kind of believe working tightly with who's going to be the new VP comms to make sure that there's a good kind of relationship there to make sure that the sports teams and all the societies can have that kind of leading names and then from there on everyone else can kind of follow suit. So that's all.
Fantastic! On to you, and your 30 seconds starts now.
Well, most importantly, I think that we are all Team Stirling together, whether we are sports or societies. What I like to do is I like to have a once-a-month social. We do a takeover of a venue, and we basically go and have a sports and society social where sports teams get out with societies and clubs and basically just celebrate the fact that we are one university, whether we play sport or not, we are all part of the same team, and I think that is the important thing for collaboration between sports and societies.
I love it!
Yay! Drinking contest!
Yeah, Kelsey. All of the candidates, can you put your hand up?
So question for you. I'm a volunteer coach for a number of the teams here, and none of the volunteer coaches get any information about student health problems. Now that's reasonable, why should we be volunteers? But if something goes wrong on our watch, we get the blame. Now that's kind of less than the blame of the person that's injured, and we have no recourse because, well, we were teaching, but we volunteered, we've got no badges. So is there a way that the volunteer coaches who give up their free time and then ultimately something can go wrong can be more informed about the people that they're teaching, otherwise it's a bad deal for us?
So let's start with Simon and work our way towards it.
Okay, yes, I think it is very important that coaches are fully aware of any medical problems or any issues that may arise. Now, most coaches do have PVGs or they have DBS checks, so they are in a position to actually have that information, and I think that as a sports union, what we need to do is, if we are aware of an issue with a particular student who's joined a club, then we need to be obviously making sure that you are informed, and more important that that is confidential, because that is obviously important. But I think absolutely I would ensure that all coaches are fully aware of any potential issues with any of their players.
Yeah, also have been volunteer coaching myself. It is honestly the biggest worry to have someone who accidentally gets injured or something like that. But what I think could be a possibility, or what I think would be a good idea is, for example, getting all the volunteer coaches together and then potentially give some sort of sessions that you could understand how to respond in certain situations. So whether that's at the Clubs Academy that Katie mentioned that's been going on for years, that there's a session for the volunteer coaches that they get to go to, or it's a completely different kind of forum, then I think that's a place where they can get well informed to make sure that everyone's safe and covered.
So just kind of following on from exactly what Jill said there, that is something that we're kind of doing at the moment. So obviously we're going into elections for new club committees, and on that committee list that we're asking to submit this year is a section about volunteer coaches, and that's so that we can get a little bit more information and actually understand who's coaching where. That's sometimes stuff that slips through a little bit for us because it is down to clubs to organise. But what we are looking to do is create that exact forum to make sure that coaches can come together, do a little bit of a needs analysis, see what we can be doing to support you guys more. Absolutely, if that is something that's missing, that we should be taking that step, because we absolutely appreciate the time that you give and understand that we've got to look after you as well as our players. And it would just be kind of putting a kind of structure into place to make sure we're following all confidentiality guidelines and stuff, but you are informed as a coach and kind of are aware of everything you need to be.